Hey guys, Mr. Neese going to talk to you today about U.S. History TEKS SE 9G. Let me read it to you. Describe presidential actions and congressional votes to address minority rights in the United States, including desegregation of the armed forces, Civil Rights Act of 1964, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. So, let's start with desegregation of armed forces, 1948. So an executive order from Truman ordered that the armed forces be desegregated. So prior to that, if you're African American, you would be in a troop with other African Americans, segregated from other groups or units. Now with desegregation, everybody has to be integrated within the armed forces. President Eisenhower ordered in 1957, I believe it was, it's not giving me the date there, but the 1954 ruling of Brown versus Board of Education forced desegregation, meaning schools had to integrate. Couldn't have an African American school or black school and a white school down the street. They had to be integrated. Now Eisenhower will, to enforce that, nationalize the National Guard and bring them in to escort what's known as the Little Rock Nine, 9 students who were African American trying to attend Central High School and were denied access by the governor of Arkansas and the school system. So that's forced integration there. So that's an example of what Eisenhower did with the Central Little Rock situation. Civil Rights Act of 1964. So this abolished racial, religious, and sex discrimination by employers. So basically it became unlawful to hire somebody based on their race, their gender. You couldn't discriminate and say, I'm not going to hire you because of those reasons. That made it illegal. Voting Rights Act of 1965 was to help the African American population and ensure that there are no obstructions in their rights to vote. You couldn't have literacy tests or poll taxes, things like that had been used in the past in the South to try to keep people from voting who are African American. So, Voting Rights Act of 65, which also reinforces the 15th Amendment, which was granting rights to African Americans to vote, specifically the men, because women's rights would come later in the 19th Amendment. So, Civil Rights Act of 1964, Voting Rights Act of 1965, Eisenhower sending in troops to help the Little Rock Nine, and last but not least, desegregation of the armed forces in 1948. So hopefully that helps you with SE 9G.